Hello and welcome to our second live stream of the day for #DiscoverLC, our virtual online open event. We've got the creative industries team now, which covers a wide variety of subjects. So if you're not sure exactly what you want to do, you just know you like being creative, this is the stream for you. We've got a couple of shooters and program leads in, so they'll be bringing them up in just a second. If you have any questions about any of the courses, feel free to pop them down below in the comments and we will answer them as soon as we get to them. But for now, let me introduce you to our wonderful team. First up, we have Helen. Hiya, Helen.
Hello, you're right.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Getting my head around this virtual world we're living in at the moment.
It's very crazy. Do you want to tell us sort of a little bit about yourself and your role at Leicester College?
Okay, I'm the program lead for level 2 photography and graphic design and level 3 photography. I first started working at Leicester College in 2007. I worked part-time for a number of years before having 3 years at another FE college in the region, and I returned a couple of years ago. So I've now been back at Leicester College for nearly 3 years.
Fab. Thanks, Helen. Next up, we have Rob. Hiya, Rob.
Hi, Ashton. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Do you want to tell us a little about your role as well?
Brilliant. I'm the program manager for creative arts and media, so I manage all the staff that were on earlier and some of the staff that you're going to meet today. I've been at the college since 2001, and yeah, I've worked with many staff in further and higher education in the creative and digital industries.
Fab. And though it sort of may look over the next time we meet everyone else that everyone's in the same house because of the colours of their walls, we've established they're all in different houses, so it's fine. Next up, we have another Helen, but this is a different one. So hiya, Helen.
First technical hitch. Do I sound like an alien still?
No, you're fine. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your role as well?
Yeah, I've been at Leicester College for, 20 years in September, I can't believe it. And I currently look after the BTEC Extended National Diploma in Art and Design and work on a number of the programmes actually in art and design and in fashion.
Fab. Very nice. Very good. Nailed it. Perfect. And next up we have, the last but not least, we have James. Hiya, James.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm James Hollingsworth. I'm the moving image lecturer, video lecturer. I teach on the media course. I've worked in my current stint at Leicester College for 2 years. Prior to that, I worked at the college for 4 years. And in between, I ran my own business within the video field.
Fab, cool. So that was a nice little introduction for everyone there. As you can see, there's quite a lot of elements that we are covering today, but hopefully we're able to sort of get some good information about all of them. So before we sort of get into the questions, I just want to sort of ask you a little bit about each of your courses and just sort of find out a little bit about what you cover and what kind of things students can expect to learn on the courses. So I'm going to start with you, Helen M, and then we'll sort of go around and find out about everyone else. Or if Helen, I think Helen may have frozen. So in that case, we'll start with James because I'm in control and I can do what I want.
Okay, so I'm representing 2 courses here today. Firstly, the media course, creative media course, and also the sort of subset of that, which is the TV and film speciality. Across both those courses, they have their similarities, but obviously the TV and film is more geared towards exactly that. So if you have more of an interest in TV and film, we would encourage you to go in that direction. If you're more interested in perhaps journalism, you would go in the creative media direction. But on both the courses, you will learn how to do research, which is really important for all aspects of the course. You will learn about the pre-production process. You will learn filmmaking, different kinds of filmmaking. You will learn graphic design, be that for print or for motion graphics within film. Web design, did I say web design? I'm not quite sure. Photography is another aspect that the course will introduce to you. And finally, there is a fair amount of writing for the course, not more than there is practical, probably 50-50, 60-40 maybe. So pretty even amount. So yes, there will be some writing involved too.
Cool, perfect. Thanks, James. We've got Helen back now. Hi, Helen.
I'm back.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of what we cover in your courses?
Is that Helen M? Yes.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
checking. Yes. So the courses that I manage the level 2 in photography and graphic design and the level 3 photography. I teach the photography aspects on both those courses. You will find that just whether you're on level 2 or level 3 with photography, you'll be learning photography right from the very beginning. We literally start off with, this is a camera, this is how it works. Other aspects you'll be learning, so you'll do a lot of location photography, perhaps specialising in fashion, documentary, portraiture, street photography. Then we move on to using the studio facilities we have, which allows you to learn about creative lighting, perhaps doing still life, fashion and portraiture. And we embrace traditional photography and do quite a lot of work in the darkroom, shooting on film. So you get a very broad introduction to the medium where you get to experiment and try lots of different types of photography.
Cool, thank you very much. Next up, let's go to Rob, who's talking all things graphic design. Rob.
Thanks, Ashton.
We'll
Yeah,
get there eventually.
I came from an advertising background actually before I started at the college, and we've offered graphics for 25 years or longer. It's a really established program, but you'll learn everything from core idea generation and concepts, and you'll cover all the different specialisms from typography, page layout, advertising, all the digital skills, editorial, web design, illustration. We'll cover the full Adobe suite over the 2 years. Core drawing and visualization, so your painting and your drawing techniques are so important in the graphics industry. And so it's a really broad course, and it's got some great workshops that go with it. Some high-end Mac suites, and you've got your own studio to work in as well.
Fab, thanks. So basically anything that is graphics, we're going to cover it on the course.
It's really broad, and then it's specialised in the second year. That's right.
Nice. And last but not least, we have Helen. Helen, tell us a little bit about your courses as well.
Must have unmuted my mic. Okay, I'm here today representing level 1, level 2 and level 3 art and design. All of those have different entry requirements. There's great internal progression if you started on level 1 to go to level 2 to level 3. Across all of the programs, there's an absolute gamut and diversity of art study. Fine art, printing, screen printing. It's not just that, printing opens up into so many other areas of printing, lino printing, mono printing, and we can go on. We have very specialist workshops as well with the screen printing rooms and great facilities. Ceramics, students can access the ceramics workshops. 3D facilities, 3D workshops that we have as well. Students can look at developing and refining skills in photography, in textiles, and all of the time when you're studying on whichever level, the level is pitched to that level, the teaching is pitched to that level, but you're building a portfolio. And it is something that, again, you use for your progression and even after college and to university and your work life. All of the time that you're developing these art skills, they are for you and your portfolio, and they're your currency for your future.
Cool, thank you very much. So it seems quite a lot that there's quite a lot of sort of overlap or general sort of subjects that cover a lot. I know obviously we had fashion earlier on that talked about textiles as well. So is there a sort of a lot of students working with each other, especially with like photography and fashion photography? I assume there'd be quite a lot of overlap. Oh,
yeah. Well, a good example of working together. We've had a great collaboration with fashion students. So photography and fashion students this year have worked together, producing images where the photographers were doing a location project. So photographing fashion images, and the fashion students were modelling, or they found a model and were having their garments used in the actual photo shoot, which had a really real feel to it. And they were shot on location around Leicester, around St Margaret's campus.
Cool. And is there any sort of other, cross cross subject interaction between students? Is there anything else people work on together?
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the graphics students of often going back to fashion. Fashion seems to be able to link to quite a lot. The graphics students have been involved in the promotional posters and ticket design and things like that for the Leicester College annual fashion show, which has always been, you know, incredible to use our own students' work as part of that promotion.
Cool. And just sort of out of curiosity, really, do the arts, as in performing arts students, get to work with the film students as well, James? Is there sort of some interaction between the two groups? Oh, you've muted yourself again, James. James, talk to us. Unmute your microphone.
I think I'll probably just leave that off.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so I was just saying that in the first year, the students will make a short film, a drama film, and we certainly try to encourage them to work with actors. And so last year we liaised directly with the drama department. The students arranged their own auditions, so we sat on a big audition day, and you know, coffee and biscuits and all the rest of it, calling the students in, the actors in one by one, and the students selected who they wanted for their short films, and it really raises the production standards across the board. You know, the actors bring so much to it, but not only that, but you know, within their own sort of courses that they're doing, they will be working on the short film, yes, in terms of the video side, but they will also be working in photography, doing you know, production stills, poster design, which obviously relates to graphic design, and research as well, in terms of looking at you know, ideas, other films that are going to influence them in designing their own product, because really that's perhaps the most important thing of all, that research to generate ideas. So yeah, definitely cross, not only within the departments at St Margaret's, but you know, other campuses as well.
Amazing, cool. So there is definitely a lot of integration with each other and with other courses, which it sounds really
yeah
good.
Oh, and music too. So soundtrack design, so working closely with the music department too.
Perfect, amazing. Now I have sort of prepared some questions for you guys, but if you are watching at home and have any questions that you'd like to ask our team, do pop them in the comments and we will answer them throughout the stream. So do that as quickly as you can. But I have some questions to sort of aim at you for now, that just sort of cover a little bit about the courses that students might like to know, or things that maybe we want to sort of talk about. So the first question I have: will students have to sit any exams for any of the courses, or are they sort of mainly predominantly coursework?
Not for media. They don't sit any exams. Perhaps Rob's best to answer that one, is he?
Broadly, all our BTECs, there are no exams across any of our qualifications, Ashton, and learners out there. So no.
Amazing.
And
so
in
no,
the main, every piece of work that is generated will go towards that qualification.
But there's no sort of sit down silent exams or anything. Yeah. Amazing, because as I said earlier, we all know art students, and art students have personalities, and they do not like being quiet for long periods of time. And as someone who did arts, I can say that for a fact. So that's amazing. So the next question, obviously, a lot of these courses are quite practical based and lots of skill based learning here. But what is the written work to practical work balance like? Is it quite even split, or is there sort of variations?
If you are doing a project on, say, documentary filmmaking, which you might do in the second year, you will have to make a documentary film. Obviously, that will be one aspect of your learning outcomes that you marked on. You would also do a pre-production folder where you put in all your research and development ideas as the film progresses. But there would also be a written report where you have looked at documentary filmmaking, different types of documentary filmmaking, and would be asked to write a report based on what you've looked at. So yeah, thirds then, a third on each there. So yeah, about a third of each practical element is written.
Cool.
Media.
I'd add as well, Ashton, on media, research and communication is really key in that particular qualification. So there is sort of extra weight to written, referencing, reporting on the media course, as well as obviously most of the creative workshops and subjects. So media probably does have a greater written or research aspect, and that's why it requires the grade 4 English language specifically, whereas other qualifications were flexible between English language and literature. Across all the other subjects, all the art-based subjects, they have a research element. We require learners to obviously capture and talk about skills, processes, outcomes, and then to evaluate. So Helen and my Helens can can obviously sort of just confirm how they do that slightly differently.
Yeah, I think there's a continual thing throughout art and design that you do need to, as Rob was saying, capture. And by capturing, we can't capture that conversation that we have with each other or the tutorial. You have to be capturing thoughts, ideas, the generation of something, how something's moving, and your reflection on your own practice and your own progress and what you've discovered, and make it really clear in the written word, often in a sketchbook. Again, if somebody from the outside organisation, Leicester College, comes to view this, we can't capture the conversation or the thoughts. It needs to be kind of evidenced. So that's something that's continual. And it's not to say that your sketchbooks are full of written work, but there is an element of that needs to be in there. The other thing is that there's usually one essay to do, for level 3 in particular. Looking at, again, it's study that is contextual. It's something that you're interested in. It's art and design. It could be, you know, a particular artist or a particular painting or something like that. So you learn how to write about that. And again, for your progression, say on a level 3 program, we often say to our students, make sure when you go to your university interview, you have your extended essay in there, because universities or employers need to see that you can communicate not only verbally, but with the written word. So it's really important.
Amazing. Is that the same for photography as well, Helen?
It's not dissimilar at all. A lot of the written work goes alongside the practical work. So whenever you've been set an assignment photographing something, you have to have an element of research, an element of discussing your own practice and the skills you're using, and as well as looking at what you've produced and reflecting on it. So we have a lot of the work we've done in sketchbooks, where you talk about your process as you're going along. In addition, like Helen said, yes, there will be a couple of essays, perhaps in the first year. There's a couple and in the second year. This is preparing you for life beyond college. For anybody thinking of going to university, having the skills to be able to write an extended piece of written work is very important. But I would say it is still a majority hands-on course, but there is, you know, some written work that's quite important too. Okay.
Cool, perfect. So the next sort of question is, how often will students get to use the studio or, you know, photography studio or the art rooms? Is it sort of quite often, or is it, you know, every day?
In photography, the lessons are based in our studios. So we have 2 fully equipped studios, which your lessons will take place in either one of those. Some days you'll be using the studio, some days you'll be using it as a classroom, but you'll be in there on a weekly basis. All of your photography taught lessons will be within the studio environment.
Cool.
Yeah, if I can chip in, that's the case with video too. So most of your lessons will take place for video, at least within the video studio. Sometimes you'll be filming, sometimes you'll be more classroom based in terms of what you're learning. That's for the practical modules. Yeah, obviously you won't be in the studio for the research based ones.
Cool. And is that the same for graphics and art as well?
It's the same. It's the same for art and design. So you'd be in your specialist workshop for when you're doing textiles. You'd be in your specialist workshop when you're doing a timetable for your printing session, your photography session. You'd be in the photography studios. So yeah, every timetable session is timetabled for the right room for that specialism.
Broadly, Ashton, across all the courses, Majority is about an hour and a half, where you're in sort of classrooms doing some of the contextual written work, and a vast proportion of time is in creative workshops. Bar the media that James said has a slightly more academic couple of classes in a PC lab.
Cool, perfect. So sort of following on from that question a little bit is, how often will students be in college? Roughly how many hours or how many days they'll actually be present at the college?
Yeah, do you want me to cover that generally for everyone? Because we're talking about study programs, so you're 16 to 18 hours that are here today. You're here for about 12 hours, 12 to 13 hours timetabled sessions, but we also have self-directed study, which are in workshops where you need to continue with your work. So you could be in college for about 15 hours a week, and then some learners, that gain their grade 3s at Maths and English and are resitting, grade 3s or below, could potentially, if you're doing Maths and English, be in for 2 lots of 3 hours. So it could be up to another day that might be split over 2.5 days. So some learners might be in 4 days a week. Some learners might be in 2.5 days a week. But obviously we do plan in lots of open access where we want students in working using our specialist resources to continue their studies. Rest of the team, I think you go with that.
Yeah, fab, cool.
Lots of nods.
Yeah, lots of nods, that's always good. So sort of for a lot of courses that are quite skill-based, there is kit that we have to buy before studying the courses. Is there kit for all of your courses? Is there stuff that's supplied, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Broadly, I'll start, James, if that's okay. I just want to say the area is lucky enough to have a shop. The shop is stocked at cost price. We're not here to make a profit. We just buy it directly in from Expo and pass that on to our learners. And that we often sell a lot of the kits at the start of the academic year. During the induction week. The photography department has a great resource with 2 supervisors, Helen will talk about in a second. It's got loads of stock, and we often supply that kit, specialist kit from there as well. So I just sort of give you that overview. So if the individual staff want to pick that up. James.
Yeah, I lost you at the end there, Rob, but yeah, the video, we've got a...
Oh no, James. Oh no, James. Let's
just
tripod, microphone, cameras, etc. Having said that, if you do have your own a camera and would like to use it, then we certainly wouldn't discourage it.
Cool. Would you ever just repeat that list one more time, James, because we sort of dropped you out a little bit there?
Okay, yeah. So the video department, we have all the necessary things for you to make a film.
Oh no.
Microphones and some other accessories. Having said that, if you do have your own equipment and would like to use that, we don't discourage that either.
Amazing. I think over the 2 there, we managed to get the gist of that, so that is good. There was a little bit dropping out. Just a smidge, yeah, but you're fine, don't worry. Is it same for sort of photography, Helen, as well?
Yeah. The sort of essential equipment required for photography kind of differs a little bit whether you're on our level 2 course or our level 3 course. Our level 2 course, because it's shared with graphic design, has an art kit that's kind of essential. That's got all your usual pens, paper, fine liners, and some different materials. On the level 3, we just want to ensure you have sketchbooks, you have ways of saving pictures, memory cards, USBs. When it comes to having a camera, it's obviously advantageous to have your own DSLR camera, but it's not essential. We have a really well-equipped loan shop where you pay a deposit at the beginning of the year, you promise to look after the equipment, and then we will lend you cameras. And we've got a wide range of different cameras, from digital to film, in different formats. Okay.
Fantastic. And is there anything to add, Helen?
Yeah, I just think obviously if you're an art student, you're going to need art kit, and I think probably more so than ever now. We have lots of kit that you can share, but obviously with the pandemic and all, it's really, really essential that you have your own kit. Usually level 1 students will have access to a kit that the college supervisors organise and you pay for. Same with level 2. First year level 3. By the time you get to second year level 3, you do need to go to the shop, you do need to top up. Most of your money will be on paint brushes, all of those delicious medias that you would use for your creative work, and sketchbooks, papers, mountboard, and things like that. So it's not like you might need the specialist things that you would need in photography, but you do need to be topping that up all the time, and you need to have it with you all the time.
It is also worth mentioning that there is the support fund that is available to learners to sort of help pay for that. So if you are worried about money, there is a support fund, and I suggest that if you are looking into that, it's better to look into it now and find out if you are eligible for it. So do have a look at that on our website. Next question I have for you guys is, what careers can students do after they finish the courses? Is there sort of a certain progression that you find happens a lot, or is it quite varied?
I could just talk a little bit about that. Having looked after level 3 art and design progressing students that have gone through, some of them have done level 1, level 2, level 3, which is an absolute joy to see. And today, this year, students have been offered places at university. Now, there's very few apprenticeships at the moment, and I'm not sure quite what's happening with those. But as far as degree progression and offers, it's been absolutely amazing, and again, so incredibly diverse. So we've got one student going to Bath University to do interior design, another student going to DMU to do photography, having done the general art and design programme. A couple of students going off to do architectural study at universities, still doing fashion, and some doing fashion and textiles, even though they didn't do the fashion BTEC. It's still takes you on a journey, and you can still go into those diverse career paths. And textiles, surface pattern, graphics. It's just been an amazing gamut of choice that the students have, and actually they've been accepted onto these courses. So I think that's a really good example of how diverse this can be after art and design.
Yes, it's quite a lot of jumping off points from doing a course like art and design to go all kinds of places. So it's really cool to hear. Anyone else have any?
I'm going to say in photography, we've got quite a few people who are going on to university this year to continue with photography. Some choosing to specialise at that point. I've got one particular person in mind who's going to do photojournalism in London. The majority going on to sort of broad photography courses, but actually there's some who after level 3 feel like actually they need a break from education. So I've got a couple of students who are planning gap years before returning to think about higher education, and some people looking to go straight into working as a freelance photographer from their level 3. And lots of people do feel in a position once they've completed their level 3 that they have the skills needed and required to be a photographer, and they have a portfolio that will reflect that, enable them to do that.
Amazing. And I know, is something else you want to add?
I was just reading something on the thread about competitions. Yeah, we actively encourage our students to enter national competitions in photography, and we've had great success over the years. And this comes not only from our FE provision, this is our higher education provision, is our foundation degrees. We've got lots of people who've entered competitions such as the Ilford Harmon, and we've got highly commended and first prizes on occasion. So we really encourage our learners to push themselves on a national platform.
Amazing. I know that we had a highly commended win this year, didn't we? I think, and you can check that picture out on our social media platforms. So if you want to sort of find out what that picture was like, it's on our Facebook now, so do go have a look. Anyone else like to add anything?
I just had something about progression, because I talked about students going on to all of these different courses, and I just think it's really important also to mention that we have higher education within Leicester College. So actually some students that are very happy with the arrangement that we have at Leicester College do want to stay with us, and there is foundation degree in graphics and media, foundation degrees in fashion, there's foundation degrees in photography and more. I just thought it was worth mentioning.
Thanks, Helen. James, over to you.
Oh yeah, so some of our students go on to those FD courses within the college. Some students go on to study at institutions further away. They've done things like media studies, graphic design, marketing, media, public relations, sociology and media, film production, media production, and even one went on to do film and ethnography. So yeah, all sorts of courses. Others might go straight into the industry. If they do work on a production, they would obviously start at the bottom at that stage, possibly as a runner. But others have gone on to become editors, working in communication departments as well. So yeah, a broad spectrum.
Amazing. And what was that ology that someone was studying?
Ethnography.
Ethnography.
Film and ethnography.
Do you know what that means?
Well, roughly, yeah.
I thought you were just making words up. I'll look it up afterwards.
Do you want me to elaborate on graphics, Ashton?
Yeah, of course.
The graphics has slightly different slang for outcomes. Majority of learners go off to HE as the majority of arts do. But we do get quite a lot of industrial links, especially in the second year of the graphics course, where employers come in and set industrial briefs, and I'm sure you're going to touch on that in a second. But it means that some learners, a reasonable proportion, potentially do go on into work as juniors, straight at 18, 19, and so they potentially can skip university and go straight into employment. You've got to be pretty talented to do that. But we do get a reasonable amount each year that do that. The kind of jobs that are available for graphics are advertising, illustration, web, copywriting, art direction, Mac artworking, point of sale, and there's loads in the East Midlands regions of SMEs, small micro medium enterprises, and large agencies, and loads of freelance. We've got the creative quarter that we get involved in. There's loads of small businesses there, so our students often go on to work in those areas.
Amazing, thank you very much. As you sort of mentioned about work experience and stuff, so what are the sort of work experience or placement opportunities that students will get on our courses?
I'll take that one, Ash, and I'll go for it. I think everyone's got a similar answer with this one. So we're really fortunate to have our own work experience placement officer. That's Natalie. I'd say Natalie, has actually come from an educational background in placement. And she will liaise with all the programme leads, and she will go out to lots of local employers and find placement opportunities or live briefs for students, of which the team can give you some examples in a second. We normally look for a couple of days minimum, but it can go up to a permanent placement once a day every week for the whole year, depending on the student and the placement. And they're directly related to the subject of the course that you're on. So hopefully some of the team can elaborate on some of those placements.
Amazing. Anyone like to add anything?
I can just mention an example of work experience in photography with our level 3 learners is that we've had quite a good relationship with Leicester Riders basketball team, and we've regularly sent students down to photograph matches, and then the work was obviously given over to them and used for their sort of publicity purposes. They've also done sort of, the collaboration stuff that we do quite often. We look at things like, could we have that exhibited somewhere locally to, promote the students kind of, showing their work off on a public platform. As well as that, we have exhibitions. Every year the second year students in the photography organise their own exhibition, from finding a venue to designing and promoting and organising all aspects. Okay.
Amazing.
One of the, a couple of students from level 3, the first years, they actually got work experience at New Walk Museum, which is actually really an interesting place and a lovely environment for an art student to be working in, and helping with curating and organising elements of display at New Walk Museum. And all of the second year level 3 students took part in what was called a Yellow Book project this year, and they were in collaboration with the music students who were writing music to this particular piece of poetry, and the art students were illustrating what they felt. I suppose it's a vision for a piece of art that connected to that piece of writing. So that was a really interesting project and part of their work experience.
Amazing. James, anything to add?
Oh, we're frozen.
Oh, no.
Am I on?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So specifically on the video filmmaking side, the students have a real world example brief So they're given a brief by a company, an outside organisation. So in the past, we've worked with schools, architects. Yeah, a real broad spectrum of different organisations. Anyhow, so they want a corporate promotion of filmmaking for them. So the students have to go off-site, meet the client, film whatever it is they require, edit it as a corporate promotional film for the client to use. We had 5 different real-world clients, 4 of which all used the finished article on their website to promote their service. So a great experience for all the students, I think.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So we've had a question from Facebook for sort of photography and graphics from Jay saying, do you do a bit of photography on the graphics course?
I can confirm, yeah, absolutely we do. And I was thinking actually when I finished listing the subjects, I missed off photography. And the majority of courses do actually share some of the workshops from every course. There's definitely photography on the course, and you'll have a good go at studio and learning the fundamentals. And in the second year, we do sort of advertising photography and then building that into a live corporate brief that might involve photographing products or locations to then go into advertising the product or something along those lines. So it's a bit of art direction. Thanks for your question.
Amazing, cool. So we're going to sort of go into the last couple of questions now. So if you do have any other questions, do pop them in the comments quickly and we will try our best to answer before the end of the stream. Last sort of couple of questions I have for you guys are what, this might sort of overlap a little bit between the courses, but what are the entry requirements for our level 2 and level 3 courses?
Hi, Ash. I'll pick that one up initially and then we can break it down at each level. It's split into 2 different categories. You've got your arts courses and you've got your creative media, and they are separate qualifications. So all the arts courses are under one suite and media is separate. So the entry criteria for all the arts, that's graphics, photography, and general art and design, to come on the level 2 is generally 2 grade 3s, 1 in English, preferably language, and 1 in art. Maths is it's not essential. We'd like to have it, but it's not essential. And then to come on our level 3 course, you need 4 grade 4s. You need 1 in an art-related subject, preferably art and design. But Helen will talk a little bit about photography, as in Helen M, and what her expectations are. And then we also require a 4 in English language as well. Again, maths is preferable, but not essential. So just to recap, there's 2 grade 3s for the level 2, 1 in English, 1 in an art-related subject. And on the level 3, it's 4 grade 4s. So that's 1 in an art-related subject, 1 in English language, preferably English language, and then 2 others. So I'll let Helen L and Helen M just pick up a bit on what they're looking for in their art-related subject.
The Helens, as they're referred to.
Shall I go first?
Yeah.
So obviously the criteria, the grading that Rob has stated is correct. With photography, because we fall under art and design, obviously, yes, we do look for an art-related subject, but quite often we're getting applicants who have done media qualifications and specialised in photography. So I would look, if you didn't have an art and design, but you had a media and a photography portfolio, would be what we were looking at. Yeah, so that's it. The difference is really is that, you know, yes, the art and design is extremely important, but because photography is also a media subject, would consider media as an alternative.
Is that the same for video as well, James, or is it slightly different?
We don't, other than the criteria that Rob's already outlined, the 4 GCSEs, and specifically including grade 4 above, and specifically must include English. There isn't any criteria. Sometimes students have asked at open days in the past, you know, do I need to have a media GCSE or film studies GCSE? The answer to that is no, you don't. It's great if you do, but it's not essential.
Fab. Last but not least, Helen, do you have anything to
Yeah,
add?
I mean, I think it's just all the same there. I think that sometimes you might come from an educational establishment where you weren't allowed to do art, and we've had students come before that it's like it wasn't part of the choices or whatever, and I only wanted to do this and that and the other. But I think you need to show some portfolio if you don't have that. So you need to have initiated and been self-motivated and direct yourself into creating something, because it's really, really important that we see that you do have a skill base on which we can build. It's all about evolution and change for you, so you wouldn't start with us and remain the same, but we need to see that you'd be able to cope and understand in the creative environment. So it's really, really important that you have something. Yeah, art related, so it could be textiles, it could be fine art, any of those sort of subjects. And again, English is important. But if you haven't got your English, what can we do, Rob?
What we do is, if a student unfortunately has a grade 3 in English but a grade 4 in an art and lots of other grade 4s, they're likely to sit the level 2 and do the English, so do the level 2 for a year and then apply for the level 3 the year after. But if they get a 4 in English literature, then we can review that situation on a case-by-case basis.
Cool. And you will be able to resit those math and English GCSEs alongside your level 2 as well, won't you? Just in case you don't get those.
Absolutely.
Perfect, amazing.
I think it's worth mentioning as well, just a little bit quickly about maths and English, is they are really, really important.
Yeah.
And it's not just about now, it's about your CV in the future, and an employer may look for your maths and English. Universities may be looking for your maths and English, so you need to have those. You know, it could come along as a bit of a shock later on because you haven't got your maths and you can't do your PGCE and you want to be a teacher, for example. So I think the value of those and perhaps a little bit of extra work now. You're going to live till you're 100 years old and have a wonderful life. What's 2 weeks of revision on maths? It's nothing in the grand scheme of life. So just keep at it.
So would you sort of give some advice to students who are currently at home during lockdown, just to start making those portfolios, start building up that work? You know, you've got time. Now's the best time to be creative. So maybe start having a look at building up those portfolios.
I would definitely have a pandemic sketchbook. I've been photographing on this beautiful weather, the reflections from my husband's lager glass on the table on the worktop. And yeah, all sorts of things, your favourite things. What have you been doing? What have you been reading? You can draw all of these things. How have you been feeling? A happy day, a why am I crying day? What does the virus look like? How has it affected your favourite people? You know, it can be a very emotional response on paper as well as something that's just a piece of observational drawing because you now can't stop drinking Diet Coke or whatever it is. I don't know. Little cans, little glasses, your favourite place. It's infinitesimal, isn't it? If it was me, I'd have a pandemic sketchbook.
Amazing, cool. So just had another question from Jay on Facebook saying, I'm interested in the media course, but I'm dyslexic and the written proportion scares me a bit. Is there any support for people like me?
I'll pick up on that one, but I can hand over to James in a second. So yeah, absolutely. We have our own support within the college, Jay. And we would do assessments early doors. So it's about gaining that information on the application at enrolment. Soon as we have that information, we make a referral, an interview is then processed with the support team, and they will discuss with you support in place. There's obviously things like 25% extra time that could be used for written work as and when it's required. And then there's lots of other kind of in-class strategies that the teacher can employ, like I say, as well as a separate classroom assistant. James, have you seen any of the support that I've missed there that you have in class?
No, I don't think you should worry, Jay, really. We've certainly got a number of dyslexic students in the groups, and they do absolutely fine. So don't be put off by the written work. Fantastic.
So we're sort of coming to the end now, but the last question that I wanted to ask you has quite an easy answer for this one, so no stress on this one. And it's simply, how do I apply for a course?
I'll go with that one initially. At present, students are still under school provision, whether they're in school or at home being taught from home with school. So they should be going through the post or the PS16 application system. So school, your form tutor, your personal tutors should be helping you research and apply via school through that system, because you can do the reference at school. If school is struggling, or you've chosen to start your own, I'm sure, Ashton, you'll share it as well with marketing. It's about going straight through the college website, find the course online, and finalising your application. And then individual tutors have different kind of approaches to offering places. So Helen and James might want to explore how they offer places.
Yeah, I can go first on that one. Obviously, when we get an application and we look to see whether you fulfill the criteria, and then obviously in an ideal world, we'd invite you in for a sit-down conversation at one of our welcome events where you'd get to see facilities, meet the staff. Obviously, that's not happening currently, which is unfortunate, but due to COVID-19, we can't open up the college currently to show you around. But I do believe there's some on Instagram, some live kind of tours around the college showing you different sorts of facilities that you can get a feel for, the environment you would be working in. So we don't have at the moment, but we will be asking, so anybody who is applying will be asked to send some examples of working. So if you're applying for photography with me, I'd be looking to have you send some photographs that you've taken, and obviously you might not have access to things that you produced at school, but like Ashton was saying, and Helen was saying, that this is a time to be being arty, taking photos and creating. So that's how we would process your application. We'd check that you fulfill the criteria. We'd ask you to get a reference from your school, and we'd ask you to produce some work so we can see that you're suitable for the level of course that you're applying for.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
I think the same applies for art and design. You'd be invited to an interview. I think as well, looking at your work. So again, ideally you come in for an interview, a welcome day, and we get to look at your portfolio of work and have a chat with you and get to meet you. But obviously that might be slightly different as we go forward. I think that's it really. I think just yeah.
I think Rob, you've muted yourself again. He's talking.
Hello?
Hello, Rob.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, just so you know, for all courses, excluding Creative Media, Jacob will just top you up on this. We'll provide you with an email address bespoke to your course, and you can email working by a set date. It's going to be August time. So you've got the summer to produce work, so you can just show us, we know your work's to the school, and we know you're going to struggle with getting us that. If you've got your GCSE work at home, brilliant, let's have a look at it. But obviously produce something for us. We're not going to ask for too much, but I think it's important to see that you're engaging with some design work at home over the holiday process to show us something.
Fantastic. Can I come in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with media, I lost myself there. The signal went out, but so we would ask for like a personal statement explaining, telling us why you like media, why you're interested in media, or why you're interested in film. A good reference from the school. If you do happen to have your own YouTube channel where or a portfolio of little bits of video work that you've done, that's great too. Some of our students have done films during lockdown about their experiences with lockdown, speaking to camera and shots of stuff that's going on around the house, etc. And it's been really, really interesting, some of the films that they've done. So yeah, that might be something you could consider doing over the course of the summer.
Amazing, perfect. Well, that's sort of all we have time for, guys. But thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been fantastic and really informative. If you are watching at home and you have any other questions, or you're watching this sort of not live, do feel free to ask us any questions via message or comment on any of our posts, and we'll do our best to answer them. Alternatively, email us at info@leicestercollege.ac.uk if you've got any sort of generic admissions or enrolment questions. So do have a look at that email if you need to email them. But for now, we're finishing up with this Creative Industries live stream. Our next one is mental health support, so do join us about 12:15 for that. I will be there, so if you've had enough of my voice, I'm afraid it's not going to end anytime soon. But thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been fantastic. And we will see you, hopefully, as close to September as we're allowed. So thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.